Hi guys, welcome to the second of our weekly video discussions about various different fitness subjects. Today we're going to be looking at the importance of strength. So really when we're discussing this, there's a lot of stuff in the media at the moment that's starting to come out about strength and about its value and what it can provide you. There's a few interesting studies that have come through that have shown that being able to do 40 push-ups in a minute massively reduces your chances of having a cardiovascular disease. Grip strength has been linked to your longevity of life. There's various different other studies that have come through about your ability to squat, your ability to move through full ranges under control. And what's quite interesting about this is up until sort of maybe the last couple of years, there's really been a kind of a focus around cardiovascular fitness as being the indicator for long-term health. And a lot of studies have shown that, being very fit and being able to run long distances or being able to swim for long periods of time in good technique has been a better indicator of kind of like long-term health and your ability to live longer. That has now been shown that that's not necessarily the case. I mean, significant amounts of cardiovascular training, especially in terms of the way it kind of stresses the body, has been shown to lengthen the telomeres, which actually can make you age. That's not to say that you shouldn't do cardiovascular training. It's just more of a case of applying the appropriate amount into your day-to-day life. So going back to our point, strength is quite significant here because being strong has been linked to long life and good health. And that's significant because this is the first time we've seen this change start to come through the research papers and through kind of studies. And this is anecdotally what most trainers and most people in fitness have known, is that in order to perform well in a sport or to function in day-to-day life, you need to have strength. And you also need flexibility, you also need some level of fitness, but strength tends to be the area which is most neglected, because in order to do strength training traditionally, and probably most effectively for most beginners, you'd need some access to resistance bearing exercises, which are mainly done in gyms. Let's go into that point a little bit then. So typically most people could do body weight training, and that could be pull-ups, push-ups, dips. You could hang from bars and you can strengthen your body that way. The problem with that is that your load is your own body, and if you weigh more weight than you can handle, you can't effectively do those things. I mean, it's very common for me to be able to see people who can't do pull-ups regularly, and so if you're limited to being able to do maybe 1, 2, 3 pull-ups, how much of a stimulus are you going to be able to provide to your body to actually see that strength increase? It's the same problem, across most bodyweight exercises. And at the same time, if you're too light, you're doing many reps in order to stimulate that system, and ultimately you're only going to get so strong because that resistance is preset. Using weights and bars and even bands and stuff like that is different, because you can vary the resistance, and therefore you can create the right stimulus for your body. So utilizing that kind of equipment is a better start point. It's also much more scalable in the long term. While it's important to have some ability to move your own body and have the strength to manipulate and do that, you do also need to work with bars and weights and bands and various different other things for resistance in order to really get your strength up. Now on this point, I want to discuss the fact that most people seem to believe that when you work with resistance bands or weights or bars, you'll immediately start gaining masses and masses of size. That isn't the case. Strength and size do not necessarily correlate. So strength is more about the muscle's optimal output. It's effectively about how much weight you can move for one rep. That's the definition. That's the way we kind of review and mark our progress with strength. In terms of muscle size, that's more hypertrophy, and that really comes from bodybuilding. That's slightly different because that's about the shape and the way the muscle looks, and you're trying to grow that ultimately to get more mass, and that's a very different process, and it's very normal for those things to get confused. Now, obviously over time, if you're doing strength training and you're trying to optimize the strength of the muscle, as a byproduct there will be some muscle growth, but again it's very different to the kind of bubbly hypertrophy look, which is kind of a big bulky muscle. It tends to be lean, dense muscle fiber. It looks very powerful and strong. And you know, if you look at people say like Bruce Lee or Muhammad Ali at their peak, or they're very strong individuals, and you know, they don't look like the Hulk, for example. So getting the right style of resistance training becomes crucial when you're trying to gain strength. That kind of covers why you'd want to do strength training, and that also covers how you do that. The question then becomes is how often you should be doing these type of things. So strength training really needs more than one application a week. You can see some benefit working out and doing strength training once a week, but really it's more that frequency is better. So kind of want to do this maybe 3 to 5 times a week, which sounds quite a lot, but really if we're talking about saying doing half an hour's worth of strength work a day, it's not that difficult. Away from kind of your traditional kind of gym exercises that you could do, which would benefit this, you can also do more functional things like gardening work, carrying things, that type of things as well. That would also count towards strengthening the body, because ultimately your body has to then resist and work around, you know, the activities you're doing. So there's various different ways of increasing your body strength, but the takeaway point here is that it's more significant than most people realize, and this is why, you know, trainers like myself spend a lot of time discussing strength, because strength has a huge value to long-term health. It has a huge value to posture. It's a huge value to your general ability to do things. I mean, you know, from being able to put a suitcase overhead on a plane, to playing with your children, to, you know, generally avoiding certain cardiovascular-based illnesses. It has a huge carryover in a number of areas. So it's not something you want to just neglect and you know, avoid. And most people tend to do that because they're intimidated, understandably, by these type of activities. So coming back to that point, if you do want to start putting more strength training into your day-to-day routine or into your training, just please contact me. If you go onto the website, you can see the contact me space there, or you know, come to me, ask me some questions. I'm happy to give you some advice and discuss ways you can incorporate more of it into your you know, day-to-day life. Like I said last week, if you go onto the website, there's a space where you can subscribe to the weekly blogs. We have one that's available on the website every Monday. There's also a Wednesday one that gets emailed out, and then that's only to subscribers. And you also get notifications when this YouTube channel gets updated with a new video. You can also subscribe on YouTube. There's a red button somewhere on this screen that says subscribe. If you click on there, you can subscribe to this. As we go forward, hopefully we come and start to cover a wider range of topics, and so there's going to be plenty of other things for us to kind of go on there. And I'm also hoping that we can start to collaborate with other people in the industry, and you know, put some things out there that are perhaps a bit more discussion based, rather than, you know, just a explanation like this of various different things. Anyway, thank you guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.